Sit down at home, decided to watch some TV, listening to the news by Gordon Mosley. And listening to the things that he say he tracked in tonight, paying close attention to make sure I hear it right. But when I hear the things that he mentioned on the news, I had to declare, them kind of thing got me confused. I hear some things where the ERC noticing, and it convinced people that people ain't learning nothing. We hear so many times about them big name calling, and they say ERC pretend that they didn't learn nothing. But once you're black and you just decide to say a word or two, bet your life on that, they say ERC coming for you. Listen to the things you just hear on social media. Only one set of people allowed to talk in one Guyana. I still say nothing, black people in learning. But this is my concern. I hope one day black people will learn. ERC that I would like to know, if any of its members happens to be black people. And if that is the case, I want them to answer this call. Tell me how come none of them ain't got no voice at all. You're showing signs of weakness and you're afraid to be fair. And we see the same thing keep happening year after year. And the day will come when all this nonsense will stop. That will be the day when black people decide to wake up. Not so long ago, something terrible happened. This young Indian man want to kill out all black people by poison. But if his shoes was on the other foot, would have been a big threat. But up to this day, this ERC can't do nothing as yet. How come it's only black people committing cybercrime? Then critic on social media fussing people all the time. I still saying black people in learning, but one day will come when the entire table will turn. Plenty of these issues we see they fail to condemn, because these people think that the law is only for them. And anybody else who decide to file a complaint, they go call you a racist and don't want to hear nothing. Plenty complaint from time to time has been brought to their attention, but because of this one-sided cybercrime is why they don't show any concern. It's only one set of people that they really care about, and that people must take the abuse and shut them out. The Dachi Amsterdam went to court just recently for an issue that was highlighted by the CRC. And the pretext the police decide to jump on his case. Without a search warrant, they went and search up the man's place. Let us all agree that black people under attack. Different laws for you and me just because we black. I still singing, black people in London. To all my black friends, we must put a stop to all this nonsense. Cybercrime laws to keep people silent, just to make sure nobody criticizes this government. And while that is a very clear case of dictatorship, it is no surprise that the ERC ignoring it. Why only the chosen few is allowed to have things their way, when people like me and you must have nothing to say? And when ministers in the government start to launch their attack, you never hear this ERC come out and talk about that. They send a policeman all the way to New York. This fella went up there to serve a customer non-recall board. Under this thing, this government decide to fabricate that case, but like they forget the warning they get from Latisha James. The vice president described that he use a shallow life. Because of this kind of abuse, he don't have a wife. I'm still singing, black people in learning. Just the other day, I hope your man see help is on the way.
Don't be a victim. Beat the heat with EC crystals. Party ice in large and small quantities. Call 682-7981 or visit us at Club Twilight, Sideline Dam, Buxton North. EC crystals, pure party ice. It's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday with Al Christie and popular DJs at Club Twilight, Sideline Dam, Buxton North.
Trust me, if you are on the East Coast, you're in Buxton, you're in Tongue, you're looking for a place to get away to, this is the place. The Cutters, and then of course the ambience is beautiful, fully air conditioned, the decor is on point, the music's on point, everything's on point. So if you want to find a nice little place where you can just drive out of town and have some drinks, have some food, you can call, you can order your stuff and just take it. You don't have to stay, or if you want to stay here, that's what's up. And And of course, they have special events for Valentine's. You can rent a hall. You can rent a hall, honey. You can rent a hall for weddings, for birthday parties, to have a bash. I hope he edits that out. But whatever it is, this is definitely the place to be. So it's on Sideline Dam. You definitely want to ensure that you check this place out. But it's on your to-do list. All right, on your to-do list. This is definitely the place to check out, a really cool, chill spot here in Buxton. I like this. Buxton needed this. We needed this. I needed this. You definitely needed too.
Stop running around like headless chicken. Go to Ashton's Marketplace for whole and cut chicken, beef, pork, processed meats like bacon, beef franks, smoked ham, ground pork, calabresa, and lots more. Ashton's offers wholesale and retail. Check them out. Call 613-2332 or WhatsApp 434-327-3955. Ashton's Marketplace at 72 Rob Street, Border.
All right, so today we are here at Club Twilight up in Buxton, and we are here to talk about all that's going on up here. Trust me, if you are on the East Coast, you're in Buxton, you're in Tongley, looking for a place to get away to, this is the place. The Cutters, listen, I'll be having some just now again. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, the ambience is beautiful, fully air conditioned. The decor is on point. The music's on point. Everything's on point. It's just me. I need some work. But everything else that belongs to this club here is on point. So if you want to find a nice little place where you can just drive out of town and have some drinks, have some food, you can call, you can order your stuff and just take it. You don't have to stay. Or if you want to stay here, that's what's up. And of course, they have special events for Valentine's. You can rent a hall. You can rent a hall, honey. You can rent a hall for weddings, for birthday parties, to have a bash. I hope he edits that out. But whatever it is, this is definitely the place to be. So it's on Sideline Dam. You definitely want to ensure that you check this place out. But it's on your to-do list. All right, on your to-do list. This is definitely the place to check out, a really cool, chill spot here in Buxton. I like this. Buxton needed this. We needed this. I needed this. You definitely needed too. Thank you. All right, so you might be wondering where we are, still in Buxton at Club Twilight. That's where we are. So Club Twilight also has like an Airbnb as well. So you could come, drink, drunk, and come in the back here and lie down. Look at that. Look at that. Perfection. And the people come in the room and so on. The bed sheet matching the blind, matching the carpet, matching the this, matching the that. We know but we things in Buxton don't play with we. So definitely if you want to come and you may be having a wedding or whatever and you just want to overnight and just have a good time because you're going to be drunk. We got too much road accidents. So you definitely want to come, drink, have a good time. They have several rooms that you can rent. You have your toilet, you have your bath, you have your sink, you have your dining area, you have the bed. This is nice. I like it. Anyways, to my friends and my family, if you're looking for me, I'll be overnighting. Also for those persons who are traveling in from overseas, you want a nice, cozy place out of town, then Club Twilight, call them up, look them up on social media. They have their own Facebook page, and ensure that you come up the side and have a good time. Have a good time. Have a good time. Sorry. I'm sorry. That's it.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Rheinveld Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T&W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more. Planning a party? Worry no more. We have all the supplies you need. At EC Party Rentals, we have folding chairs, folding tables, square tables, round tables, long tables, short tables, big tables. We have chairs, red chairs, gold chairs, white chairs, crystal chairs, chairs of all type, throne chairs. What you want, we have. Food warmers, coolers, ice, beverages. At EC Party Rentals, we have what you need to have a good time. You plan the party, we do the work. Call us 622-5933. Easy Party Rentals. Let's keep your party going.
Bear in mind that I'm not hearing whatever you're playing. I'm not hearing it.
It's supposed to hear. Who tell you it's supposed to hear?
I sit down at home decided to watch some TV, listening to the news by Gordon Mosley. I listening to the things that he say he trapped in tonight, paying close attention to make sure I hear it right. But when I hear the things that he mentioned on the news, I had to be clear, them kind of thing got me confused. I hear some things where the ERC noticing, and it convinced people that people ain't learning nothing. We hear so many times about them big name calling, and they say the ERC pretend that they didn't learn nothing. But once you're black, and you just decide to say a word or two, bet your life on that, they say the ERC coming for you. Listen to the things you just hear on social media. Only one set of people allowed to talk in one Guyana. I still say nothing.
Only one set of people allowed to talk in one Guyana. I think it's the alone. Only one set of people allowed to grow. in one Ghana. Morning, everyone, and you welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kiraki Absalam. It is 7 hours 35. That makes it 25 minutes at the 8 o'clock hour. It's Thursday, and we're going to have former Minister of Finance, Winston Jordan, on. And of course, he's going to be talking about the economy. Yeah, y'all don't fret yourself, that too shall pass. Right, that too shall pass. It's not that only one set of people allowed to talk in Ghana. One set of people allowed opportunities in Ghana. One set of people only. Right? So all those who defending the thieving corrupt cabal with the mismanagement of this country's resources and misappropriation and so on and so forth, yeah, they coming, Yeah, they coming. I like that go too lazy and who want work, and who want free money and who believe government should mind them and all of that. I don't want government mind me. I want government give me fair opportunities to get by. Right? Just as how the other people getting opportunities, I want opportunities too. And don't tell me in the words of David I that I gotta be a like bottom African, a like bottom Negro to get opportunities. I see this, but some people don't understand that when we talk about the wickedness and the vindictiveness of the government of the day, it's not that we don't like them, we don't like the policies, we don't like the way they treat a section of the Guyanese community. And the friend of my enemy is also my enemy. Because that person enables them to continue to do the wrongs against me and the rest of the Guyanese society. So see how they run out. Uber's line, good morning. What do people have called you when you throw yourself down in front of the trucks, in front of the Georgetown Public Hospital? What do they call you? Or what are supporters they call you? Ask them much what the PPP they call you. Ask Moses Nagamoto. I've never felt so ashamed in this society for an Indo-Guyanese brother. Like I felt ashamed the way the PPP was treating Moses Nagamoto. And so you don't feel like you have come up from under a rock. Because David Hine said they got a lot of like bottom Africans in this society. As we like to say, that they say, at least I grew up here and they say, the Indians say, lick us before you kick us. In other words, humble yourself, kowtow, grovel at the feet of those who have it until you could get it. And so like bottoming about now, and like asking about now, it been about a long time ago. A lot of people believe that they gotta lick somebody ass, they gotta grovel, they gotta kiss somebody ass to get what is rightfully due to them. No. They those of us who uphold our dignity and our ancestors' struggle don't believe that that is right. Our ancestors struggle already for our right to participate. Why we now got there doing all of these inhumane things in order to survive? Why we gotta be hitmen for people in order to eat the bread? Whether intellectual hitmen or hitmen with guns and arms and ammunition or whatever. Why we gotta do that? And so I got a lot of y'all who licking asses. And then using the fact that you're licking ass to get by. And then you're telling people, but there's opportunity for everyone. There's no freaking opportunity for everyone. At least not equal opportunity. Some of us can't deal with the hard truths. And so we curse the messenger. Well, yeah, curse the messenger. But I believe that a lot of our people are look bottom.
And I thank David Lines for bringing that term to the fore. And David Lines is not the first man to call African Guyanese who doing the kind of things that they do in or African people who doing the kind of thing they're doing here. Lake Bottom. Ask Coco. And all of you coming out in your righteousness. David Hines just crossed the line and this and that and the other and the next. Where were your voices, or where are your voices? The PPP has been consistently crossing the line. But y'all ain't saying. What about this who watch been where James Bond been, where all of them who running them out been, when all of the nastiness about land corruption was being spoken about a week or two ago. They have been. Oh, y'all could come out and be choosy about what you comment on. Y'all are Lake Bottom. All here. And like I always say, I'd rather die on my feet, I ain't going on my knees. Yes. Good morning to all the Lake Bottoms. Y'all do what you want. Stay what you want. It doesn't matter for you. Let me play a little more music to Colin Jordan just now.
Learning. But this is my concern. Hope one day black people will learn. Something about this ERC that I would like to know. If any of its members happens to be black people, and if that is the case, I want them to answer this call. Tell me how come none of them ain't got no voice at all. You're showing signs of weakness and you're afraid to be fair. And we see the same thing happening year after year. And the day will come when all this nonsense will stop. That will be the day when black people decide to wake up. Not so long ago, something terrible happened. This young Indian man went to kill out all black people, my boy son. But the issues was on the other foot, what I did not do. But up to this day, this TRC can't do nothing last year. How come it's only black people committing cybercrime?
Mr. Jordan, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, good morning. I'm good. A bit cold, man. I'm like the weather. You know, I want to know if they send down the Arctic blast to us, because there are two snowstorms in New York and they're close to us here now, a couple miles away. So I've never felt it so cold in recent times. I don't know if by you felt it cold. You had to use 2 blankets.
No, I am a warm-blooded chap. I always hot. Yes, I always hot. Always hot, man.
Yes.
Just as the temperature is getting hotter on the political scene, I stay hot. I must be getting hotter too. You know?
Yes. I noticed the temperature heating up.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be careful of not staying on point, not being focused, because there are a lot of blind alleys and so on that people are, and rabbit holes that people are likely to carry you down.
Yeah, I don't mind trying to distract you, man.
Yes, and get you off the message. You understand? So I wish people will ensure that we stay laser focused and so on. You know, I mean, look, I love the Croco song and so on, and I think, in fact, you have to see the video when Croco actually making the lick story that got me laughing. But look, these things, you know, have been said all the time, right through the ages, and they get worse in our bifurcated societies, right, where you have various ethnicities and so on. It gets worse as opposed to a society that is predominantly one ethnicity. But like I said, we shouldn't allow these people to distract us and so forth. Like David Hines said, and as I said, who wants to go? Is no question of it. You can't store well, but you can't make them drink, right? And like so many are finding out today, and I'm sure you've had that experience. People meeting you and saying, "Oh, we missed the coalition. Oh, under the coalition we didn't have this, and we want back the coalition. We can't wait to vote them out." And all these things you get that make you say hindsight is always 2020. You understand? But you know, people have to realize that there's only one chance in every 5 years. Basically, they get to exercise that franchise at the national level. You know, and they have to think wisely when they go in the ballot box and determine whether the choice they're making, whether they can live with it for the next 5 years. You know, unless you have the Charandas effect. You know, but essentially that is what they have to live with. You know, so no promise of a better future and all these kind of things. A $5,000 here, a food there, a contract there. Should allow you to make what is not necessarily a lifelong decision, but it's a long-term decision, a 5-year decision. You know, you have to determine not only your own future, also the future of your family, and also bearing in mind where your ancestors came from. You know, what they bequeathed to you, and how you would like to bequeath to the next generation. What it is that you would like to bequeath to them. Would you be dying with your boots on? Or would you be a supplicant or a mendicant or somebody who is known for taking a $5,000 here or be given a contract there while others are feasting on the hark of the land and so on? So for me, I think there's always got to be the message to be sent. Don't get sidetracked, you know, and your families and so on need to come together at the table, which is what unfortunately we're not doing more of these days. And explain these matters, you know, lest our people go astray. So that would be my take on that. I really don't want to get involved much more where that is concerned. But on the political level, I want to congratulate the PNC on the observance of their 70th anniversary. I think it's today. I think they have the flag raising ceremony going on. You know, 70 is indeed a real milestone. In that time, lots of parties came and went. You know, growing up, you know, I heard about the Liberator Party and Pudum and all these other different parties who don't exist anymore. Even the TUF don't exist anymore. Even the UF don't exist anymore. So for them to have survived 70 years is a real milestone, and they ought to be congratulated. They had a lot of turmoil in their party. The PAP still have some of that going on at the moment. But the point is that they have, they exist and they continue to exist, and they remain, without argument, the only viable force that can compete and win elections against the incumbent government, so to speak. And so, for all their farts and their warts and everything else, they still have a reason to exist. They still have a reason to survive. And I hope in this celebration they will reflect on their importance to the society, and they'll quickly disregard or get rid of all the fights and the broken promises and so on, and come together as one so that we can fight this election and put in a government of national unity that can indeed govern this country, not for half, not for a quarter, not for a third, but for the entire country, in a manner of speaking. So congratulations to the PNC. And I hope all parties and well-meaning parties will give them their blessings and extend a fraternal hand, if not a coalition hand, so that we could fight this election with one voice, so to speak. What do you think, Kidaki? WPS then congratulations to them. After all, Koyano, Elder Koyano, wrote the battle song for them, and was an integral part of the formation of the PNC. So what do you think?
Congratulations is always in order for any organization that has survived that long. And like you said, amidst the turmoil, whether WP will send congratulations to them or not, I don't know. I don't know that it is something we have discussed at the executive, at least not yet. I don't sit and count the PNCAs to know how old they are, so I didn't even know that they were 70 until I started seeing some publications. Right? But yeah, congratulations is in order. And in saying that, I want Dwayne Faber, as the young girl said some years ago, catch me outside. Catch me tomorrow when it's Free Talk Friday. Don't let me talk about WP and PNC now and who kill who. We could deal with it tomorrow. And the people you're supporting kill 1,400 black people. Mr. John, you're talking economics. I have a video which you shared with me about Norway and how they were able to become rich, let's say. And I see that video is important in our discourses about the Natural Resource Fund and so on, because I know to some extent the Natural Resource Fund Act, which was enacted here under the coalition, drew a lot from the Norway model. So if you would permit me to play that before you start.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, play that. It's very important. It's a very important video, and it dispels a lot of myths about the Norway fund and the Norway economy and so forth. That I'm not going to discuss the video, but I'm going to reference the video in as soon as finished in something I want to discuss that was discussed last week, and many people have asked me to flesh it out a bit more because their interests were piqued as I was explaining it last week. So go ahead and play the video.
Good. And as you were saying earlier, 2020 vision, hindsight is 2020 vision. About all those people were saying that they miss the coalition now and so on and so forth. Matter of fact, I think I wouldn't say happy or elated, but I took note when Dr. Terence Campbell said, you know, I was very critical of the coalition government, but now looking at the behavior of the PPP, I really miss them. I even miss, what's his name? Harmon, right? And I've heard a lot of people make that admission, but sometimes you just have to reflect and learn from the past. Here's the video. Let's go.
Located on top of the Northern Sea and sharing borders with Sweden, Finland, and Russia, it is the world's 5th richest country. Norway is so wealthy that 25% of its population are millionaires. It is the world's 7th healthiest country and the most democratic country in the world. Norway tops all the indicators that are used to measure the prosperity of any country. But Norway wasn't always like this. In late 18th century, when famous economist Thomas Malthus visited snow-covered Norway, he saw a country whose people were extremely poor and desperate, a mountainous country where travel was almost impossible. Towns were distant and disconnected, the citizens were mostly uneducated, and the weather was extremely cold, which meant that agriculture was almost impossible, and people barely survived. Just a few years after Thomas left Norway, the condition of Norway deteriorated. Norway's economy completely collapsed. Famine spread throughout the country, and it seemed that poverty was now Norway's perpetual destiny. So how did such a massive transformation occur? How did Norway become such a developed and wealthy country? Let's find the answer to this question in this video. These are all the countries that possess 85% of the world's total oil reserves: Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, UAE, Libya, Russia, and Venezuela, but their combined GDP is only 8% of the world's GDP, and none of these countries are in the list of the world's top 10 richest countries. On the other hand, Norway is the 13th largest oil-producing country in the world, yet in terms of quality of life, it is ranked 4th. So what is the reason that despite producing so much oil, these countries are nowhere close to Norway in terms of standard of living? The reason is a phenomenon that economists call the oil curse. The problem with oil is that it is just like winning a lottery. After discovering oil, the country becomes rich overnight, but instead of using the money properly, the rulers of those countries reduce taxes to gain favor from their people. The oil industry overshadows other industries of that country. As these countries export oil, the demand for their local currency increases, making it easier for the citizens of that country to buy imported goods, and as a result, the local industry starts to suffer. As local companies start to shut down, unemployment in the country begins to rise. The wealth gets concentrated in the hands of a few people, and the common people start to get angry, and this anger leads to protests and eventually to bloody revolt. This is what happened in Libya and Venezuela. But why didn't this oil curse affect Norway? In the 19th century, Norway's entire economy was driven by sea trade. Norway had an extremely favorable coastline through which timber, fish, and various minerals were shipped to European and Asian countries via ships. At that time, Norway had the 4th largest sea fleet in the world, which allowed it to control nearly 30% of the sea trade in the Northern Sea. Along with this, the most significant step that Norway took was to establish a parliamentary system. The primary purpose of this system was to ensure that political power and wealth does not concentrate into the hands of a single person or a political party. Norway was also naturally favored with the potential for cheap hydroelectric power generation. However, at that time, 75% of Norway's hydropower generation companies were owned by foreigners, and this situation was a major concern for the Norwegian government. In 1940, the Norwegian government finally decided that Norway's natural resources would be owned only by Norwegians and passed a bill that prohibited foreign companies from owning hydropower projects of Norway. And during the same time, the introduction of modern railways, roads, and transportation infrastructure gave a much-needed boost to Norway's local industry. Between 1945 to 1970, Norway's GDP growth was 3.3%. Norway had the highest taxes in the world, but a large portion of these taxes was spent by the government on education, public welfare, and supporting local industry. By 1965, unemployment in Norway was almost non-existent. Norway had now caught up with the rest of Europe, but it was still not at the level that it is at today. However, all of this was finally about to change. In 1959, natural gas reserves were discovered in Netherlands, and during this time, experts began to speculate that there might be oil reserves beneath the Northern Sea as well. In 1966, a company named Phillips Petroleum started drilling in the Northern Sea in search of oil, but despite drilling for almost 2 years, no oil reserves were discovered, and everyone became disappointed. Phillips Petroleum decided to make one last attempt, and this time, they went deep. Finally, in 1969, large oil reserves were discovered beneath North Sea. In the next 10 years, Norway's oil production became greater than that of any other country in the world. The oil sector started creating thousands of jobs. Fishing towns were now turning into petroleum powerhouses. Billions of dollars were coming in, and Norway's fate finally changed. But this also happened with the Middle Eastern countries. So what did Norway do differently? The Norwegian government had already passed a bill that ensured no single party or person would have control over natural resources, and all income generated from them would be spent solely on public welfare. All profits from oil were invested in infrastructure and education. Norway could have reduced taxes like the UAE and Saudi Arabia, but it did not. Instead, it collected taxes and reinvested them back into the people. Secondly, to promote other sectors of the country, the Norwegian government established a pension fund in 1990 with the sole purpose of investing in companies outside the oil sector in Norway. The biggest benefit of this was that Norway's other local industries also began to flourish. As a result, unemployment decreased further. Norway's dependence on the oil sector gradually diminished. Norway became a leading exporter of timber, paper, metals, and other minerals, and it soon made it to the list of world's most developed countries. Now many other countries also have the same natural resources as Norway, but they have not been able to replicate Norway's success. The difference lies in real democracy, long-term planning, and being sincere with their people. If we talk about South America, it is much more resource-rich than Norway, but due to political instability, short-term planning, and corruption, this resource-rich continent has fallen behind the rest of the world. It's high time that the people of South America realize the potential of their countries. They should take advantage of the almost perfect geography that God has given them and make South America one of the greatest continents in the world. If you liked this video, please follow our account because we have many more interesting videos coming up. See you in the next video. This is Norway, located on top of the Northern Sea and sharing borders with Sweden, Finland, and Russia. It is the world's 5th richest country. Norway is so wealthy that 25% of its population are millionaires. It is the world's 7th healthiest country and the most democratic country in the world. Norway tops all the indicators that are used to measure the prosperity of any country. But Norway wasn't always like this. In late 18th century, when famous economist Thomas Malthus visited snow-covered Norway, he saw a country whose people were extremely poor and desperate, a mountainous country where travel was almost impossible. Towns were distant and disconnected, the citizens were mostly uneducated, and the weather was extremely cold, which meant that agriculture was almost impossible, and people barely survived. Just a few years after Thomas left Norway, the condition of Norway deteriorated. Norway's economy completely collapsed. Famine spread throughout the country, and it seemed that poverty was now Norway's perpetual destiny. So how did such a massive transformation occur? How did Norway become such a developed and wealthy country? Let's find the answer to this question in this video. These are all the countries that possess 85% of the world's total oil reserves: Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, UAE, Libya, Russia, and Venezuela, but their combined GDP is only 8% of the world's GDP, and none of these countries are in the list of the world's top 10 richest countries. On the other hand, Norway is the 13th largest oil-producing country in the world, yet in terms of quality of life, it is ranked 4th. So what is the reason that despite producing so much oil, these countries are nowhere close to Norway in terms of standard of living? The reason is a phenomenon that economists call the oil curse. The problem with oil is that it is just like winning a lottery. After discovering oil, the country becomes rich overnight, but instead of using the money properly, the rulers of those countries reduce taxes to gain favor from their people. The oil industry overshadows other industries of that country. As these countries export oil, the demand for their local currency increases, making it easier for the citizens of that country to buy imported goods, and as a result, the local industry starts to suffer. As local companies start to shut down, unemployment in the country begins to rise. The wealth gets concentrated in the hands of a few people, and the common people start to get angry, and this anger leads to protests and eventually to bloody revolt. This is what happened in Libya and Venezuela. But why didn't this oil curse affect Norway? In the 19th century, Norway's entire economy was driven by sea trade. Norway had an extremely favorable coastline through which timber, fish, and various minerals were shipped to European and Asian countries via ships. At that time, Norway had the 4th largest sea fleet in the world, which allowed it to control nearly 30% of the sea trade in the Northern Sea. Along with this, the most significant step that Norway took was to establish a parliamentary system. The primary purpose of this system was to ensure that political power and wealth does not concentrate into the hands of a single person or a political party. Norway was also naturally favored with the potential for cheap hydroelectric power generation. However, at that time, 75% of Norway's hydropower generation companies were owned by foreigners, and this situation was a major concern for the Norwegian government. In 1940, the Norwegian government finally decided that Norway's natural resources would be owned only by Norwegians and passed a bill that prohibited foreign companies from owning hydropower projects of Norway. And during the same time, the introduction of modern railways, roads, and transportation infrastructure gave a much-needed boost to Norway's local industry. Between 1945 to 1970, Norway's GDP growth was 3.3%. Norway had the highest taxes in the world, but a large portion of these taxes was spent by the government on education, public welfare, and supporting local industry. By 1965, unemployment in Norway was almost non-existent. Norway had now caught up with the rest of Europe, but it was still not at the level that it is at today. However, all of this was finally about to change. In 1959, natural gas reserves were discovered in Netherlands, and during this time, experts began to speculate that there might be oil reserves beneath the Northern Sea as well. In 1966, a company named Phillips Petroleum started drilling in the Northern Sea in search of oil, but despite drilling for almost 2 years, no oil reserves were discovered, and everyone became disappointed. Phillips Petroleum decided to make one last attempt, and this time, they went deep. Finally, in 1969, large oil reserves were discovered beneath North Sea. In the next 10 years, Norway's oil production became greater than that of any other country in the world. The oil sector started creating thousands of jobs. Fishing towns were now turning into petroleum powerhouses. Billions of dollars were coming in, and Norway's fate finally changed. But this also happened with the Middle Eastern countries. So what did Norway do differently? The Norwegian government had already passed a bill that ensured no single party or person would have control over natural resources, and all income generated from them would be spent solely on public welfare. All profits from oil were invested in infrastructure and education. Norway could have reduced taxes like the UAE and Saudi Arabia, but it did not. Instead, it collected taxes and reinvested them back into the people.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes, you finally wake up.
No, I just remember this thing goes over and over and over and over. Look how much time we waste, man. Go ahead.
Yes. Anyway, I think the video is not only self-explanatory, it opens vistas that some people either were blinded to or were being led down these blind alleys by this government. And then, we like to use Norway indeed as the pinnacle of management and so on. But we don't want to do it in the very country that has more or less similar circumstances to Norway. And I hit upon that video sometime last week. Around the same time that I was approached by a person who said they were a first-time visitor to the CAMS TV and heard me and heard the discussion on the budget and this whole business about no new taxes and how I was explaining it, that it wasn't something to be jumping for joy about, that where there are no new taxes and there is a budget deficit, that budget deficit has to be financed. And if it's not financed fully from savings, then the balance has to be financed through borrowing. So effectively, what you are doing is really postponing the very taxation that they're jumping up about. So they asked me if I could, go a bit deeper into it. So to do that, I did this before. I don't know if it was last year or the year before I did it on a program, but I will try to quickly run it through. Because I have to start from the beginning, how the budget is put together, really. So the budget itself, the central government budget itself has, let us say, 3 components, right? You have above the line and below the line. Above the line, there are 2 components. There's current revenue, and then there's current revenue and expenditure, and then there's capital revenue and expenditure. And then the below the line is the borrowing. What you have to do to finance any deficit that may arise. Okay? So in relation to the 2025 budget, you would have had your current revenues and you would have had your current expenditure. And then there's what you call your current deficit or surplus, if you have one. I think there could be a surplus on the current. And the only reason why they're having that surplus in any case is because of what I consider to be the not the correct treatment of the withdrawal from the Natural Resource Fund and the low carbon credits that they are getting. They are treating those as current revenue. So let me backtrack a bit. Current revenue are revenues that are earned in the current reporting or budgeting period. So the taxes that you are collecting and the receipts and royalties and whatever you are collecting in the current period and so forth, those are current revenues. Current revenues. That's what the word is. Current means within the defined budgeting or reporting period. But the withdrawals from the Natural Resource Fund cannot be considered to be current revenue simply because the amounts that are being withdrawn are being done so with what is called a lag, a 1 year lag. In other words, then, the amount to be withdrawn in 2025 is based on the deposits into the Natural Resource Fund that were made in 2024. So the 2025 withdrawals are based on the deposits that were made in 2024. So if we deposited $2 billion in 2024, and the withdrawal rule says you can take 90% of that, then 90% of that, or up to 90% of that, will be withdrawn in 2025. And to go to the real example, last year the 2.6 billion US dollars was deposited in the Natural Resource Fund. As a result of the withdrawal rule, the government will be withdrawing $2.5 billion of that 2.6 billion in 2025 to finance their budget. Okay? So it cannot be considered to be a current revenue. It is not a current revenue. It's not being earned in the current period, but they are treating that as current revenue. Similarly, they are being given money for what is called carbon credits. Yes, if the viewers and the listeners will recall, the government entered into a 10-year agreement with Hess for the purchase of carbon credit. Okay, and so amounts are being deposited into the account and so on. And so the government is using those carbon credits for various purposes, projects and so on. And so similarly to the Natural Resource Fund, they are drawing on the carbon credits that could have been deposited in the account. But they are treating those again as current revenues. And so in many ways then our current debt, our current savings is overstated by these amounts because they're not current. They come with a lag and therefore they should be treated as financing of the government's deficit. But that is a methodological approach, ultimately, just put out there. So, and then the second component of the budget aspect is then the capital revenues and expenditure. The capital revenues are principally flows from loans, borrowed externally or internally. But we do not, in the budget context, treat those capital revenues as part of the above the line. We treat them as below the line. The only revenues, capital revenues that are treated above the line has to do with whether there's a sale of an asset, right? Whether you sell whatever, whether cars or old machinery or whatever the case may be, and the revenues received therefrom, sale of assets are deemed to be capital revenues, and those are treated there. And similar type of revenues are treated above the line, but not the actual borrowing, which are also capital revenues. In other words, they're the borrowing that are used to finance the capital program. But definitely the capital expenditure is what is the second component in that above the line story. So when you take current revenue, current expenditure, capital revenue in the form that I have just discussed, and then the capital expenditure, you have what is called the overall balance or the overall deficit. In most countries, developing countries, it ends up being a deficit. But in several countries, including Norway and all these, they have a surplus. Okay? And you do finance a surplus by building up your deposits in your banking system or whatever the case may be. You don't have to draw them down. You build up more deposits. So that's how you finance a surplus. Right? You finance a deficit by drawing down any savings that you have or borrowing from internal or abroad. So the deficit, for example, in the 2025 budget was $317.8 billion. Right? $317.8 billion. And this is after taking into account above the line withdrawals from the Natural Resource Fund of $512.4 billion. So let me go over again. So you have your taxes that you are going to be taking, your taxes and your royalties and your whatever else that will form your current expenditure. Okay? Then you have your current revenue. Then you will have your current expenditure. Then you'll have your little capital revenues that derives from the sale of assets and so on. Then you have your major capital expenditure. Then you have your budget deficit. Okay? Now they are treated, remember I tell you, above the line, the withdrawals from the Natural Resource Fund and the carbon credits. They are expecting to draw down from the Natural Resource Fund in 2025 a massive $512.4 billion. To show you how massive this is, the first withdrawal of the Natural Resource Fund was in 2022. And that withdrawal was $135.2 billion. And that withdrawal consists of all the monies that were in the Natural Resource Fund at that time, $650 million US. They withdrew every single cent of it in 2022. So that was $135.2 billion Guyana dollars. In 2025, this is now a massive $512.4 billion projected. Then also, they have also treated above the line the carbon credits. Now, carbon credits in 2023 was $5.8 billion. And they're projecting to get carbon credits of $41.2 billion in 2025. So after all of that has been accounted for above the line, there's still a budget deficit of $317.8 billion. So this budget deficit now has to be financed. And that is where the massive borrowing has to come in. Okay? So if you didn't tamper, the massive borrowing has to come in. And so that's how they're being on this borrowing spree. Okay? To this, whichever institution is in a position to give them money, they will take it. And I think what is even more scary, that the projection for the public debt, which stood at $6 billion, $6 billion US in 2024, or in Guyana dollar terms, 1.26 trillion, is now projected to be a massive $7.5 billion US by the end of 2025. So to consider this, 2025 is an election year, a general election year. And between 2024 and 2025, they're going to add a $1.5 billion to the public debt. So if and when they are voted out in 2025, can you imagine what the new government is going to be faced with? A similar situation that we were faced with in 2015. In one year, 2024, 2025, they are going to add $1.5 billion US to the debt. That is equivalent to almost the entire debt. That 1 year increase in the debt is equivalent to almost the entire debt. as at 1992, which was about the external debt, sorry, which was about 2.1, and far more than the external debt that they would have reached in 2020, which was about 1.3 billion US dollars. So this is the extent and magnitude of the problem that we will face with. At the end of 2025, the public debt is projected at 7.5 billion US dollars, which is roughly $1.6 trillion. All right? $1.6 trillion. So very often you hear people asking the question, why are we borrowing so much when we got so much oil and we got natural resource fund? And that in itself is not necessarily a conundrum, but it's a valid question, right? That is shown in the Norway video that you have just played. When you're balling out that we are financing this massive budget with no new taxes, you're not doing anybody any favors, as I said last week. In the Norway tape, it says to you, rather than falling prey to populist measures of reducing taxes and other sweeteners and subsidies and so on, which essentially don't even benefit the very people who you think that you're doing these things for. Let me stay on that point and show you what I mean. When you accede to a clamor for a reduction in VAT, when the government accedes to that clamor and rushes out and says to people, we reduce VAT, for example, how does that square with the fact that the cost of living is still high? And the very goods that you have reduced, on which the VAT was reduced, instead of reducing in prices, go up in prices. How? I was listening to Terence Campbell on Politics 101 a couple of weeks ago. I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I had submitted a message to indicate that what he was saying sometimes doesn't fly unless the government has some kind of agency within that market to ensure that whatever decrease in tax is passed on to the consumer. And he admitted, he said, as a businessman when he was with churches, whenever the government reduced taxes, he didn't see any need to pass that on to the consumer. He said, because he said that was the time when after the blows that the businesses were taking, he saw that as a way of recouping what the business was losing or was paying out more than or so on. You know, I don't want to misquote him or so on, but I get the gist of what he was saying. Essentially was that he never passed on any sweetener in the form of reduced taxes that the government might have given to the consumer. He continued with the same prices and so on. This is the reality of it. They are going to be clamor for populist measures, reduce taxes, remove taxes, increase subsidies, and all these kinds of stories. But the average person doesn't benefit from them. The very people you think that you are targeting, they don't get it because we do not have in this country or similar countries markets that work. This is not the United States of America, where they have large numbers of, say, gas stations and large numbers of producers of petrol and so on. And so, you know, people, if this gas station is selling 2 cents less than the other one down the road, we definitely going down the road to get the one. We're definitely staying here to buy gas at the 2 cents less. And so they will be able to pass on and compete and so on. Not in Guyana. Not in Guyana. In fact, the only reason why a reduction in gasoline prices will work in Guyana is because of Guy Island. And I've said this over and over again. It's because of tire oil. So if the government reduces the excise tax or so on gasoline, tire oil will implement it immediately. The other companies will be forced to do so because then they will lose market share and customers. But when you reduce VAT on food, when you reduce VAT on food imports in particular, where do you see that those prices are reduced? And when you reduce VAT excise tax on gasoline, which hire car or bus, minibus do you see reducing their fares? Which? But if you had competing like state, competing like buses and so on, it would have been a different story. But you don't have that. You don't have that. And therefore you are wasting, you are depleting government resources, chasing behind some nebulous policy that reduction in VAT or whatever taxes will result in reduced prices and cost of living. Norway, in the video, and which is what I have kept saying and saying and saying, you must collect your taxes and use the tax mechanism to redistribute that collection to the intended areas that you want. At the same time, it guarantees what is called the consumer sovereignty, the right of the consumer to make his or her choice, and not you making a choice for them. What do I mean by that? Suppose I don't reduce the tax and I continue my collections and I redistribute this money in a way where the average public servant gets a substantial salary increase. And that public servant is able to use that income as he or she sees fit. In other words, then they could determine that I can buy a bicycle, that I can buy a new shoe for the kid, and so on. They make the choice. They're sovereign. They're consumer sovereign. They're sovereign. They're making their choice on the income. The large increase in revenue has allowed the government to pay substantial increases in wages to the public servant. Go to the other round of the spectrum. You decide to give massive tax breaks, massive concessions, and so forth, which means you do not have the wherewithal to increase salaries massively, because the revenue that you would have used to increase the salaries has been foregone in the tax breaks and so on that you have given. Now you are going to crow and tell people that over the last year we have reduced VAT on milk and so on and so forth. But are you willing to crow that as a result of that VAT reduction, milk prices have reduced from $10 now to $8? No, because milk prices are still at $10, $15, $20 and whatnot. So the public servant who was not able to get the kind of salary increase that they would have got had the government collected the taxes is now faced with a dilemma. They have got an increase, but a very small increase compared to the one that they would have got if the government had collected the taxes. And they're now faced with the dilemma of the same or increased prices. You know why? Because the producers of those goods, they have every excuse in not to increase those prices. Every excuse, and the conditions are right for them to not to do so. If you had 100 importers of milk, maybe. But when you have one, maybe two, and at most maybe three large importers of milk, you expect those people to say that how they are going to be reducing prices? They're not going to do it. So Norway, again, that's why I wanted that video to be played. The different conditions that are in place, but in particular with this one, taxes and subsidies. You subsidizing this place, you subsidizing, say, GPL, you massively subsidizing GPL, and you massively subsidizing GWI water. But you know what? In doing so, those subsidies are being appropriated by the large and medium and large consumers. You're not discriminating between the poor pensioner and the large consumers. Subsidies lead to false pricing, and false pricing lead to heavy and over demand for a good or a service. Example, if you subsidize electricity instead of allowing electricity to have its true price, and then targeting the poor and other disadvantaged groups with transfers, cash transfers, so that they will be able to meet or determine how much electricity they will use. If you use the subsidy to artificially keep the price low, what do you think particularly large consumers' electricity will do? They will just use it, they will just use more of it. Because the more that they use of it, it's the same price they are, same subsidized price they are paying. Whereas it is the government who wants to meet the larger difference between the subsidized price and the true price as a result of the person using more and more and more units of electricity. How does that help the poor pensioner? But you are subsidizing electricity in the hope that you are keeping pensions low and that the pensioner will be able to afford a reasonable supply of this electricity. And as you realize that doesn't hold true. And that is the whole essence of untargeted subsidies and these nonsense about talking about removing taxes from here, removing taxes from there, and will result in a decrease in the price of the goods. Not in countries like us. It doesn't, and the experiences are there. And as Norway keeps hitting, I got to go back to that video all the time. They didn't fall to this thing about removing taxes and getting rid of taxes. They collected their taxes and redistributed the state using the mechanism of the tax mechanism and the cash transfer and whatever else. They redistributed what they collected. And that easily is a better mechanism, a better targeting mechanism. Those who can pay must pay. And those who can't must be aided and assisted. But you would not get that kind of objective by the manner in which this government has proceeded over the last 4 or 5 years. And that's why you have this big chaotic situation at the moment. They always going about freight, that they have kept freight at the pre-COVID amount. That's the average businessman. He or she is smiling all the way to the bank because you really think that the average businessman is using the pre-COVID freight as their pricing mechanism. They're using what it costs per day. So they appropriate the difference between the pre-COVID freight that the government is using for the collection, for the determination of taxes to be paid. And what they think that they would have paid today in today's prices and sell you that? And that compounded with the huge demand for all kinds of different materials because of the government's insane policy of ramping up expenditure without ramping up production and so on, is going to result in inflated prices also, which means super profits for those who are engaged in the business of production or importation. But these kinds of economics don't pass by the government. Another factor in that video is the one man approach. The Norway recognized very early about that issue of the one man, one person approach, or everything falling in the hands of one person. And they move swiftly by way of law to ensure that it doesn't happen. But that is what is happening here. You can see the reality of what is happening here with one man who's controlling all the natural resources and controlling all the financing. That video should be studied by all and used as a lesson in how to manage any country. And if there are takeaways from that video, there are many takeaways. As a matter of that case, there are many takeaways. The first thing I gather from them is that democracy, parliamentary democracy, and strong institutions are important to avoid the oil course. We don't have any parliamentary democracy, and I'm going to. I don't know if I have time to continue on that vein here, but essentially, let's use the broad principle here. We don't have any parliamentary democracy. We don't have any parliamentary democracy, and over the last 5 years, that whatever we had passed for parliament in this country has degenerated into a farce, really. The government has few occasions when they meet in parliament, and when they do, it's either to pass the budget, to pass a supplementary, or to pass some law that they have come up with. The fact that you have a position in place and they will talk and then the government will talk and then you vote, hey, don't have it, ayes have it, yes, bill pass and so on. That's not democracy. In its 5 years, the government has not sent one bill to a select committee. And you have had massive number of bills of critical import to this country, like the local content bill and the natural resource fund bill and all these other bills that didn't have the benefit of a select committee. There's no parliamentary democracy in this country. And when it comes to institutions, as that video has shown, we have all institutions that you can name it. But where is their strength? Where is their capability? Where is their independence? Where is their autonomy? I have said it here, and GSK Lal has said it, and everybody has said it. The guardrails that we have put in place have disappointed us. And the capture by the government of these quote-unquote autonomous, quote-unquote independent institution is complete in Guyana. You only have to witness places like the Auditor General's Office, Integrity Commission, Public Procurement Commission, Ethnic Relations Commission, all these different guardrails that we have put in place that are constitutional entities and supposed to have some level of protection. You only have to witness their activity or inactivity in many ways to see why I have reason to make this kind of analysis. If you don't have strong, independent institutions, oil courts is on your door. It's right here. The oil courts is right here. You have people pussyfooting. You put in place a constitutional public procurement commission. And the commission is telling you they don't have powers to do this. They don't have powers to do that. All they could do is recommend this and recommend that. Well, what on earth is the purpose of the Public Procurement Commission? That is easily the most financed institution per person in this entire country. Imagine paying a Public Procurement commissioners, 6 commissioners, enormous sums of money to do what? Because I remember when the commission was set up, it was set up to be a full-time institution. And if it's full-time, it means then that the commissioners can't hold other jobs. And for that, the salaries are well, they're not peanuts. The chairman of the commission, I believe, comfortably takes home over $2 million per month. If you include salaries and allowances and so on, it will comfortably be over $2 million per month. And similarly, as you go down into the other committee, the deputy chairman would not be too far behind, and the other commissioners would not be too far behind. So these are monies that are alien. They're alien to many other people. I could perhaps comfortably say they're alien to even ministers of government. But yet, you have commissioners there who are holding down other jobs, or perhaps never even gave up their job that they had prior to becoming commissioned. So you ask yourself really and truly, what's the purpose of having the commissioners there? And you could go through the whole spectrum of independent institutions, or quote unquote independent institutions, who have such constitutional status as to make it hard for the government to tamper with them. But yet still, the government gets its way because it's the government who appoints most, in some cases and all in other cases, of the members of those institutions. So, unless you have parliamentary democracy and strong independent institutions, the oil course and the paradox of plenty will proliferate. The other aspect of the takeaway that I got is the issue of ownership of natural resources. Throughout our history, except for the small period when Burnham nationalized, our resources have always been owned by foreigners. Bauxite, manganese, gold in many areas, timber in many areas, and now petroleum. All of these resources are substantially owned by foreigners. And so, while your balance of payments may look good, while your GDP may look good, the reality is most of that doesn't belong to the country. And it's not only oil, by the way. I mean, people get carried away because oil is prominent. It's not only oil that is not owned by this country.
One, two, check. Yeah. Where's my microphone? Oh, yes, you're making sense now. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is 7 hours 40 on the 14th day of February in the year 2024. Happy Valentine's Day to those of you who celebrate. What is? You know what is me? Where did I come from? You know what that is? All right, let me check it out. Looks like we had an intruder. So what's going on, Edo? How was I last night? How was I yesterday? Oh, you wake up this morning. What did you achieve yesterday that gave you hope? Were you able to make some extra money or any money at all? You feel satisfied with your income? Well, I tell you, last night I had sleepless night. I had a sleepless night last night. And I blame David Hines. I blame David Hines, Dr. Professor David Hines. I had a sleepless night last night. You see how later come on this program? You won't believe me, I must just wake up. Quite the contrary, I slept like a babe. I slept very well last night. So all those of you who are calling me and messaging me and Kiraki, Mr. Amsterdam, James Bond, they carried up your name on David Hines program, you say you're ignorant, and so on and so forth. Rest assured, I didn't lose 1 minute of sleep. I slept well because I am not at wrath with my conscience. And the way I live, for the most part, I don't think I will be at wrath with my conscience. Not that I'm conscienceless, but because I try to do just by every man. Because I think about others and not only myself. So I slept well. And let me acknowledge to you that I'm ignorant. We all are ignorant. And kudos to James. He did say to in his discourses, I didn't hear if I didn't recognize. I don't know if any of you recognize. He said yes, he is ignorant because he made pronouncement on something that he had no knowledge of. Yes, to be ignorant is to be lack of knowledge. So I agree, I'm ignorant. I don't know, and maybe I will never know, because I don't live rent free in anybody's head. Perhaps I live rent free in people's head. I don't know what the arrangements were between or among James Bond and Azzuddin Mohammed and whoever else was involved when they were making moves in Melanie. I don't know. But what I know, at that time, Black people's livelihood and properties were under threat, and they still are. I know that for a fact. What I know is that the PPP was abusive to Black people at that time, and they still are. And certainly at that time, Azzuddin Mohammed and the PPP were wrapped up in one sheet. And like I usually say, the friend of an enemy is an enemy. So I wasn't ignorant of those parts. You know what else I wasn't ignorant of? The struggles of Black people. The struggles of my ancestors to build this land. First, against their will as slaves. They were enslaved to build this land. Blood, sweat, and tears they shed. But they built it. And then after they won their freedom again, by resistance, they didn't beg for it. They resisted. After they won their freedom through resistance, they made sacrifices, they struggled, they established villages. In fact, they bought plantations and turned them, converted them, organized them into villages.
That I know. When the powers that be were raining blows down their backs, they didn't grovel, they didn't beg. Boxing people stopped training. Why? Because the powers that be were bullying them. Taxation without representation, and they said, we ain't gonna stand for this shit. And boxing people stopped training. That I know. What I also know, that there's some spineless bottom lickers, as David Hines describes them. I see this morning, Anox said they're going to the ERC because David Hines said there's some African Guyanese black people who are bottom lickers. Well, I tell you, let's join the campaign. Let them take all of us to the ERC. Because of a fact, there are some spineless bottom lickers in this society who seek to justify their selfishness by claiming that they want to serve, and they're serving, and they're doing this, and they want to do that for the people. You want to serve your people, join them in resistance. But when you're in resistance, you can't line your pocket. When you're in resistance, you can't live high and mighty for the greater part. You gotta take your blows like a man. So I'm ignorant of a lot of things, but those things I mentioned, I am sure I'm not ignorant of. I personally call Minister whoever, I'm telling these roads in Maryland, you gotta do. And I tell you all the truth, I don't have not with those who I believe are oppressors to my people, so I can't get a phone number to call them. What I know I personally did is went to Melanie and stood in those potholes and highlighted the deplorable states, the deplorable state of the roads in Melanie. What I know for a fact is after I did that, the PPP went to Melanie and spoke with the people of Melanie. I'm not ignorant of those things. And so once some of us open our mouths and say, we call this person, we meet the person, and we got direct connection with that person, quote unquote, as a big up, what they don't understand is that they've been snared. They allow themselves to be snared. I always tell you the the Rasta diplomat, I think they call him. And the Rasta diplomat joined the PPP state for local government election. The Rasta diplomat had a conversation with me. Rasta diplomat said, I'm sorry, I know you love your people. I know you want to speak good for them. I know you want to do good for them. I tell you what, if you join the PPP, you won't get to do all you want to do for your people. I hope and pray my people know that I want to do good for them. And I hope and pray that they see that I strive every day to do good for them with the little that I have. But most importantly, I want them to recognize that I'm not going to sell them into bondage in the name of doing good for them. David Hines appeared in a program, something 24/7 a few mornings ago with some Indo-Guyanese PPP friends and cronies and so on. And from my interpretation of what was said in that program is, the PPP has no intention of giving black people a fair chance in this country. They believe that the black people, African Guyanese, must conform to their mantra. They believe, I'm trying to get the right word or quote exactly what was said, but in short, they're saying that black people must basically exist under them. The question was about shared governance. No, we ain't believe in no shared governance. We ain't got no shared governance in this country. Black people must exist under the PPP. That was my interpretation. And so you tell me, why am I going to join any organization, any institution, any cabal, any band of crooks and criminals who believe that my position must always be subservient to them? The evidence is out there. The evidence is out there. Let me talk about the evidence. Starting with the PPP Civic in the 90s or whenever they started with the PPP Civic, that's Sam Hines as Prime Minister. Sam Hines was the first Prime Minister under the Civic. And he remained Prime Minister throughout. His presence in government, I should say day-to-day active government, except when he became ambassador or whatever. Why? He wasn't good enough to be anything but subservient to the PPP, because the PPP always retained the presidency, even when the Constitution says that when the president dead, the Prime Minister takes over. Prime Minister ascends to presidency. Even when Jagan dead, Sam Hines couldn't be president. You have to bend over, bend down, pause. Let me stick it in. Couldn't be president. He remained a bottom licker because somebody who the PPP believes was superior to him was always above him. See, I will have to look up. Bottom lickers. Let me go down the line. No, the woman Harper. Elizabeth Ocean. No, she was prime ministerial candidate. She never passed it. When last you heard Mark Subvinka Phillips utter a word that indicates that he has power? When last? How many times has Mark, as President Salih left this country? And you heard a declaration that the president, acting or whatever handle you want to give to him, was Mark Phillips. In fact, if you don't pay attention, you wouldn't even realize or remember that Mark Phillips is there as Prime Minister. Bottom liquor. When you hear about Kwame McCoy, when it's time to curse black people, when you hear about Joe Hamilton, when it's time to continue to oppress black people, Bishop Fisher just sit down, you're disturbing this meeting. What about him? They are all bottom lickers. They are in the PPP, not to serve African Guyanese, not to argue the case of African Guyanese equality, but to serve themselves. And so when your goodly friend, as invited by David Hines, come on the Politics 101 and say Kedaki I'm ignorant because he made pronouncement on something that he had no knowledge of. Yes, I admit that. But you're not ignorant. This is the thing. You're not ignorant. You're not arrogant. And there's a difference. Everybody is ignorant. Because everybody has a lack of knowledge. But you're arrogant. And where the arrogance comes from? The arrogance comes from the bottom of your heart where you tell yourself that you are entitled. You're entitled to what? You're not entitled to shit. None you're entitled to. I live a life of servitude. Activism for me is service. And until you can bring yourself to that place of recognizing that you chose activism, you chose to serve, and so you're entitled to nothing, then you can come and talk to me. You can't talk to me because you're arrogant. Okay, the best education. Okay, scholarship, I was a scholarship student. I'm at this, I'm at that, you're nothing but a ball of shit. An entitled ball of shit. I do so much. I sacrifice so much. I take parents everybody. How these people reward me for your work? What freaking work you want people to reward you for? It's a struggle for democracy. If you want to reward every single individual that struggles for democracy, there will not be enough place to reward them. There will not be enough place to reward them. If you want to some of y'all punishment bags, walk around talking about education and sacrifice, I will not be here fighting the fight that fight since Donovan to now. I'm going to walk up because I'm ignorant. And it didn't stop me because I'm fighting for the people. My freedom could be collateral damage. But just knowing that if I hold the line and I fight with my people, a day will very well come when we will free ourselves of these tyrants, and my next generation ain't have to do the same fight. But no, yeah, I can't understand. Though. I usually say if there got anybody who's supposed to be bitter with the coalition government and bitter with the politicians, the leaders, and so on, it gotta be me, man. I sat here, I told you the story of people making me close down my private school, which I had. In an interest in serving the government in the education sector. Not one day did I work with the Ministry of Education as encouraged. Not one day. I felt the brunt of that decision for years. But you know what? I suck it up like a man. And I created avenues to earn like I always do. So I not depend on nobody. David Hines mentioned the other day what Granger did to the WPA with the seat. And how it affected WPA members like myself. I should have thrown in the table, throw in the towel. Say, wait, man, me own party locked me out of working with the government. Me ain't got time with them. Wait, man, the president locked me out to go into parliament. I ain't got time with them. This fight is not about David Granger and WPA and Kidaki. This fight is about ensuring that we get good governance in this country so that everybody gets an equal opportunity. And ensuring that my African Guyanese people who are being oppressed throw the donkey out the back. But the people who complain of not being given opportunities, the people who complain of not being rewarded, are the same people that the PPP, for example, were dragging in the mud about a $200 million US deal or something like that on land. These are the people who at least got a seat at the table when the coalition was at the table. They were players. They were players. And I said it before, and I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to repeat it. The problem in this society is that a lot of people feel so entitled in their arrogance that when they serve one political party and they think that their time is up, because they've outlived their usefulness, they believe that the society owes it to them to continue to carry them on their backs so they can jump to another political party to see what else they could suck out the lifeblood of the society. I ain't that type. I say to y'all, and y'all might think it's a joke I'm making. I say to y'all every day, I don't have to go to the National Assembly. I don't have to go to Parliament. I don't have to be a member of government. I will sit right here, just an ordinary Guyanese citizen, and I will fight the fight of the people. Because that is what I'm interested in. The people's well-being. And don't tell me joining the PPP is going to address the issue of my people's well-being. Because I've seen many looking like me perhaps, who have joined the PPP, and they have not been able to have a positive impact on the well-being of my people. And until y'all could acknowledge that, until y'all could recognize that this fight for the people is a fight for the people and not individualism, y'all can't talk to me. Y'all can't talk to me. Because the little teeny weeny bit of knowledge that I got of the sacrifices of my ancestors is enough to help me to recognize the enemy when I see them. When Kidaki Amsterdam was calling days of protest in this society, the PPP was running to every place that he called a day of protest. The last one I think I remember was the one at Buxton Public Road. When the whole cabinet, the whole PPP cabinet, when they come to Buxton, the same day the day of protest was taking place. And they went to Buxton Siwa, to the background. And I had to pick up a phone and call a soul. I had to call the people to action. And once I called the people to action and the PPP became fearful of the reaction of the people, they came to the people. They went to the box embargo. Go and ask people. They got people who get land. They get people who get commitment to do farm. They get all kinds of commitment. Investment in business. All kinds of things people get when they go to the background. When I call the day of protest. Now go back to that period of activism. Because it was always what was that? The revolution will not be televised. It was always televised. Every community that I went to in my campaign for betterment for African Guyanese communities, the PPP followed me. And I ain't have to pick up a phone. And I ain't got to call nobody because I know them know the number. I don't even know what enough of them look like. My politics is not about people. At least not personal. My politics is about government and policies. And so every time those of us who are willing to stand and fight, resist the wickedness of this government, have to stop to fight the bottom liquor It is taking away from the fight. It is taking away from the fight. It makes the fight harder. Because we got bottom lickers as poster boys and girls for the oppressors. It is ignorant to tell people that black people must work harder. Oh, how much harder black people must work? How much harder black people must work? You mean a man that is so brilliant has fallen into that trap of stereotyping black people that they don't work enough? You're serious? Give black people a level playing field and you would see what they can achieve with the kind of work that they put up. I'm talking about honest work. Again, Malik Grizu gonna tell you I made it with the PPP. Yeah, you made it with the PPP. Why? What you have to do to make it with the PPP? They got 1%, whatever she named PS, gonna tell you she made it with the PPP. What she have to do to make it with the PPP? McCoy gonna tell you he, she, or it made it with the PPP. What you have to do to make it with the PPP? All of them records muddy. All of them records solid. They ain't got no character. This brilliant youth man find himself in the same trap of saying black people that work harder. He's going to get to serve with the PPP. I too sorry for you. I too sorry for you. So let me assure you all again. I said last night. Because unlike some people, I learning.
Sit down at home beside it or watch some TV, listening to the news by God Mosey, and listening to the things that he say, tracking tonight, paying close attention to the show and lyric man. But when I hear the things that he mentioned on the news, I had to declare, them time again got me confused. I hear some things where the ERC noticing, and it convinced me that people ain't learning nothing. We hear so many times about the big name calling, and they say we are pretend that they didn't learn nothing. But once you're black and you just decide to say a word or two, bet your life on that. They say we are coming for you.
Let me stick a pin or pause the sound, whichever one you prefer, and answer one of the Ignaru asking if Moses Nagamoto was made to act as president in the absence of Granger. Department of Public Information, February 26, 2019. Prime Minister Honorable Moses Nagamoto sworn in to perform the duties of the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana by Chancellor of the Judiciary, Acting Justice Janet Cummings Edwards at the office of the President. They say a picture tells 1,000 words. Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see it. Look at it. Look at it. Just a talk for son and talk for rain. Look at it. And there were many other such occasions. Right? I can't see at a cursory glance. And I gave no challenge. You see people who come in here talking foolishness? Gangadin, I challenge you to send me or post for the viewers a headline with Harman as president of this country. Because I can't remember Harman was made president of this country on any occasion ahead of Nagamotu. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Perhaps it happened because Harman was Minister of State. And if an occasion arose where Granger had to be out of the country and Nagamotu was out of the country, then the possibility is Harman would have had to step up. Harman would have had to step up. So y'all show me Gangadin or Gange, good one. Show me where Harman was president of the country while Nagamotu was present. That's why y'all show me. See, I got my little education like flag. I didn't say you get first grade, first class education, no? I got my little education. I didn't sit at the front of the class. But I didn't sit outside the classroom. I didn't just get a classroom education. I never got a scholarship, but I got a village education. I got a cultural education. And there's a problem with a lot of us. A lot of us, the people we aspire to represent, the people we claim to represent, the people whose shoulder we want to climb on to get to the top for self-aggrandizement, self-actualization. Let me use that big scientific term by Maslow. To get to self-actualization, we don't know anything about them. We don't know that struggle. We have not studied them culturally. We ain't got no cultural education. We ain't got no cultural correction. None of these people who are talking about they represent the black people and African Guyanese and things, they don't know crap. They must even know what khaki tastes like. They must even know what dashiki. I mean, that is the barest of minimum. The barest of minimum you can ask them. Show me your African culture there. As a man think it, so easy. Let me go back to my music.
Listen to the things you see on social media. Only one set of people allowed to talk.
I tell you something. I don't understand David Hines' politics. I got great respect for David Hines, but I don't understand David Hines' politics. If you close the floor, close the floor. I got no time giving you no platform to explain yourself. No, you made your decision, live by it.
One Guyana. I still see not many black people in learning. But this is my concern. I hope one day black people will learn.
Information I usually have great respect for Winston Jordan. He said Ryan's Gangadin. Well, he have dressed Gangadin nicely. Harman never acted as president or prime minister in the absence of Granger. The prime minister always acted as president while in the order of precedence. Vice presidents Greenwich, Ramjoton, and Alicock. acted as prime minister. Right? You always ask why they stop and address these half-truths and innuendos and so on. Because they don't want people to run away with the wrong information. Likewise, if I present the wrong information, stop me in my tracks. Stop me in my tracks so I can learn. Because it's human to err. But it's not acceptable to be arrogant.
Something about this ERC that I would like to know. If any of his members happen to be black people, and if that is the case, I want them to answer this call. Tell me how come none of them got no voice at all.
The lines are open. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time Free Talk Friday Bottom Liquors edition. The lines are open for voice notes and calls.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam.
We are one of them. Hey!
My opinion about
Hold the line, caller.
conversation with James Bond. He was a person that I admired. But to me, he has personal grudges or personal thing going on with the PNC, PNU, and he chose to lash out in that way, that go over into the PPP. Fine, is his choice. But then when he gonna come to say certain thing, it is hurtful and is a slap in our face. These same people, James Bond used to hear calling we hungry belly dog and all these things, you understand? And how he's standing now to defend the PPP. You understand? It's like if when he was defending black people, it was the wrong thing he was doing. Right now he's confusing people. But we have to have a mind of our own, because all these things that James is seeing, when he gone over there now, it's showing, or it seems to me, that whatever the PPP doing is the right thing. And what he's saying, space there for more people. What are you saying? Well then, if you can't beat them, join them. Let me all go over and join them. It like I can't describe, but they said to each his own. We have to stand together, unite, and fight for our right, because a few of us is tearing us apart than to bring unity. I don't see what James Bond do that it would be beneficial for the rest of us. But he's saying that it is for betterment, and we're gonna shock to see the movement and what have you. So is either we stand up together and go take the street and fight for what and demand what we deserve, or we sit down and take we licks with a pinch of salt, because it's very much disturbing.
Call it on.
Hey, good morning, Kadaki. On a morning like this, we missed rough lane, but I don't know what's happening to her or what's going on, but I don't hear from her anymore. On the topic of lick bottom, you forgot to mention what the lick bottom for long at Dr. Henry Jeffrey. You forget he licked it like a bitter.
But he had the decency to jump off the ship when he realized he didn't go no place.
You forget he, right? He one of the biggest lick bottom we got. As enough for the topic. Thank you, Mr. Amsterdam.
Thank you. I didn't expect anything else coming from this idiot. Nothing like bottom. I didn't expect anything else coming from him. But you know what he's saying about Henry Jeffrey? Because Henry Jeffrey is a constant critic of the PPP now. Henry Jeffrey is a constant critic of the PPP now. Henry Jeffrey went to the PPP as part of the civic slate. And when Henry Jeffrey realized he getting tossed from here to there and thing and he didn't get a voice, what do you do? Or at least what it was reported he did. He resigned, or he was made to resign, whichever one, but he stepped away. And he didn't go to try and sit and cry and lick his wounds. At least at some point in time, he addressed the PPP for what they are. And who can tell me about the devil except those who have been to the bottom of the deep dark sea with the devil? He didn't get the beast. And things Skeptic says about them now bothers them. So this bottom letter and show that he come and put a stone at Henry Jeffrey. I don't understand that. All is fair in love and war. All your life.
Yes, good morning to you and all my black brother and sister in Guyana. First thing first, we're going to get there. Our pastor died, and that was the last word. We're going to get there, and we must believe his word. He even represent Flats Garden before he died. He said, Flats Garden in Rachel. I want to thank, let me say happy Valentine's Day to all my black sisters, them in Guyana, and teenagers, young ladies. Enjoy you guys' day. Secondly, I want to thank all my PNC members to represent PNC, Lyndon Sampson Forbes Bonham Foundation. I want to thank all the teenagers them that who find time for God, and parents, thank you guys for taking care of your children. They too, for sit down and hear history about Lyndon Sampson Forbes Bonham. I do hope the young man is listening to Flats Garden who said, Mr. Amsterdam, where are the MPs them to come around and look for young people to talk to them? I do hope he was there yesterday. Move on, Flats Garden. Jesus said plain, look out, wolves in sheep clothing. My grandmother teach me nothing would never make anything come to surprise to you, because more you live, more you learn, and more you see. What James Bond did was totally wrong to black people. Yes, every man has the own, but if you want to go you alone. Because what he did, no collie will never take a whole village and deliver to PNC or WPA or even to AFC. What others did, the PNC party, they eat the bread of ungratitude. What 1,000 vote going to do? You know what 1,000 vote going to do? 900 American parents and children died because they were fooled by Jim Jones to bring to Guyana and said, Guyana get paradise. And they end up dead. And to all the parents who is part of 1,000 vote, Simon Bruce, remember your children, them, you have to get education. And 1,000 vote cannot make them get education. I've been asking myself in YMCA, are you still there?
Yes.
Young man, met today he could benefit because he was at the right place at the right time. He never jumped over nobody. Don't mind Desmond Possard. Did him wrong. Put Carbon. Carbon come and did him wrong. Put Granger. Granger come and do it wrong. Put Arman. But blessed are ye that not seen, but yet believe. Long live Abinaton. God sent Abinaton. Mr. Flats Garden, look how Abinaton look bright, shine with the blessing of God. Let me don't put Abinaton under the bus, black people. Let me remember I've been out to stay with you guys over 50-something years in that party. Never run away. Hamilton Green run away, but Hamilton Green remember the word of God, the prodigal son, and he returned back. Because you know what is inside that party and the foundation of that party. You have a wonderful day and a weekend. God bless all.
Carry on.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam, and all listeners. I know James Brown is listening this morning, so I'm going to talk about hard working. I want James Brown to go and ask Roshan Khan. If you remember the 51-52 outfall, when he went to the middle of the road and stand up and watch Imati Kuli flood out the largest black farmer, cash crop farmer in 51 Good Hope. Ask them about hard working. I've worked since I was a kid, since I was my knee high, I was working. James, you don't know nothing about hard work. If you knew about hard work, you wouldn't be jumping ship. I've worked all my life and I've watched the PPP. They haven't given us no subsidy, no fertilizer, no nothing. But all they did, they had their own pulley come and lock the outfall channel and let water come and flood us out in the rain season. Roshan can't come to the roadside and stand and watch us and watch our crops flood out. And he did nothing about it. That's what James Ramos talk about hard work. James didn't know about hard work. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you for your call.
Good morning, Mr. Hines. Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, viewers. Mr. Amsterdam, I got you highlight what James was saying about you. You're doing a damn good job more than him, because the crap that he was talking on Mr. Hines' show last night, it made no sense. It made no sense. I want to know if he's a liar or he was a liar, because Mr. Hines is asking him some questions that he shied away from giving the answers. So he wasn't making no sense last night. When you look what's going on in Guyana, is Guyanese have to make the decision. Parents, sit and talk with your children. Young people, sit and analyze the situation you're in, and if the Ali government is a government that you want in office. It make no sense what the individual was saying last night to Mr. Hine. Make no sense there. I think they mentioned something about people would be surprised to know how many Afro-Guyanese are going to go for the PPP. Listen, Afro-Guyanese, y'all wake up, yeah? Y'all wake up. Ali running to the court for justice, there is none. And Ali regime is discriminating against the citizens of Guyana, especially Afro-Guyanese. So what the individual was telling Mr. Hines last night on the show, it didn't make no sense. No sense at all. As you say, Mr. Amsterdam, people in this thing is just for themselves. He in it was just for himself. And then he used something like he would not disrespect elderly people. And yet when he didn't get his way with Mr. Granger, he cussed Granger out. Listen, all think for yourself here. Y'all think for yourself. Afro-Guyanese think for yourself. Don't let people like he, James Bond, think for y'all. That is my take for today.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. I know you don't pull people to use certain word language. But if I could have, I would have called that man a nasty dog. But since you don't pull certain things, I would not call him that. I would have called him a damn nasty dog. You know, only a few money jumped the ship, and he's brainwashed already. To come to Mr. David Hines' show and to say that black people are not working enough, they're lazy. You understand me? He's talking to his mother, sisters, brothers. He's talking to also that they're lazy. His brain is get brainwashed already. You understand me? But those are the people. None of them, none of the black people in the PPP, none of them can stretch their hands and help a black brother or black sister. That is. They are going there for the personal gain, the personal need, the personal want. That's why they are going there over there. You know? But time will tell. He did not answer the question when Mr. Hines asked him, what would happen when the PNC win the election? What would you do? Would you jump? You jump and say you would not realize how much people are with the PPP.
Carry on.
Mommy, sorry. Here. I listened to the program last night, and the program, the thing about the program last night is this. James Bond, if you know James Bond, I pay attention to you, hello?
Yes, we're listening.
You can hear that, you can know that James Bond is an independent person. There's some things I agree with you, yet some things I don't. But you said it perfectly. It even lifts up your anger, and I agree with you. A lot of these blasted people who claim that they're educated, they have no cultural background. None whatsoever. So I have full agreement with you, and I put my case to rest. There's some other comic like you have no cultural background. They can't speak to representing black people champion. I am fully agreement with you, and I like the angle expressive. No educated. You gotta one-on-one discussion with them based upon the roots, the culture, and the struggle. They knows nothing about that. But James Bond said it. He's doing it for the personal interest. He said when you look at it, when you examine yourself, you want to be with father, teacher, and what's not, it comes down to personal interest, bro. Even people have to go through. Many know like he. We only know he. You know, it's more like them sucking, you know, just like how the man speaking about the body them is bad different, which is the Bolomen them. They got in office, who we would say no, he in this, but they're in the same bowling game. It's the same thing, a lot more them to suck up to them people behind the scene, friend. But you say perfectly, and I like how you express yourself in your anger. They knows nothing about the cultural background, so it's easy to bend. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the rest of the day, my friend. Perfectly said, bro.
Thank you for your call.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. A happy Friday. James Bond is looking after James Bond's interests because one time the PPP
Follow the line.
was his enemy, and now they are his best friends. He's not looking after black people's interest or the opposition interest. He's looking after his own interests. Who gave the slaves to the white people when they were in Africa? It's not the Caucasian, it's the black people. We are a danger to ourselves. Do you think if the government was controlled by the Afro Guyanese and Indians were in the military, and the head of the government was treating Indo-Guyanese the way this government is treating Afro-Guyanese and the opposition, it were the Indo-Guyanese would have sit quiet? No, they would have been leaving or talking out. But some of these people are just sellouts. They are sellouts. They are a danger. They are a danger to their own people. All they look is they have the brown bag collecting, the drinking soup, and they're stealing the money from our natural resources. Let James Bond stay in his own corner. Let him join with the devils.
Charles was in the government enjoying the sweet of the government. And what did he do? According to him, in the name of his people. Imagine that. Call it on.
Good morning, all. You know, usually I don't respond to something like what happened like with the topic like today with this dude here. The dude who was on our program last night. But this dude, I don't really know this dude. I think the most famous thing about him is his name. But he's supposed to be an attorney or whatever. But I dealt with several prominent attorneys through my job, and I never heard of him. Anyway, maybe he's a good or bad attorney. I don't know. But he is echoing sentiments that this greasy head minister made. You can remember on Hits and Bamsies a few years ago when he said black folks have nobody, black guys have nobody to look up to, and he had his father to look up to, and all this kind of stuff. Things like that. He's echoing, and I don't know, and he's loud. He's loud in the church mouse. This dude, he's not Freddie Kissoon. All they do is make a lot of noise and make no sense. But I want him to know that Barajagio heard him when he was on his way out of the PNC a few years ago, when he made a statement saying that he born and grew in the PNC and he's never going to leave the PNC and so on. I want him to know that Barajagio heard him, and he's in Barajagio's black book. So everything that he could actually go over there, because of course he's a transactional person, and Barajagio and all them are transactional people too. So, but everything that he will get to own something like a Marriott or whatever, he could go to the TV and do that. That ain't gonna happen, because one thing I know that Koli people don't want is to pay black people what they're worth, right? So they won't allow him to get what he's looking for. The finances that he's looking to get over there, he wouldn't be allowed to get it. And because he's in Barajagio's book, I give him a year. Just after the elections, he's out of there. So you better look somewhere to see if the PFC is going to take him back, or maybe if his friend that he holds umbrellas for will form another party and he will join that party. But this dude is a nobody. Right? No, I don't know about him, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't know about him, but he don't contribute to the black cause, to this struggle that we're going through, nothing at all like that. He may say that he might be getting a little bit for his people in Melanie, but of course, if he decides to be transactional and the government that we have right now will tell him, you know what, we can give you a little piece to share it with your people. Let it look like if we give you stuff, but you won't be getting anything much. But he's out of there within a year. I could guarantee that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your call. Carry on. Carry on.
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning to all the viewers them. James Bond. Brother James Bond. Because whether you don't matter you're bad and rotten and all kind of thing, you're black like me. So you got to see you as my brother. Let me tell you something, because I know you're there listening. These people see all who talking. You're sick. You're sick, brother. You're sick. So know that they're going across on another party, no problem. At least with me, no problem. But is the reason who you say that you're going across there for? Imagine you the see. Black people, all black people doing is lying, and black people gonna find job. Look the police force, look the army, look they were the thing them in the public sector. You understand? And see who knuckled there. These people doing the gods. These people doing the gods. And any Indian person is listening to this, so once your heart clean and you're balanced and everything, just enough for you, I think. And anyone who got the racist and the wicked parts against we black people is y'all like talking to. And James Bond. You understand? James Bond said, Brother Kadaki, talk it bold, that look in Melanie. We find jobs to the people who think clean the drain. Look the drain. Imagine a banner where you hold yourself high as being a liar. Guess what this man there talking about black people dignity, that the drains inside there. You go in any one of the Indian areas them, and you will see if any Indian brothers sister doing high mark. It's high mark and put the thing name thing there. He talk a thing and said that tell that times that you're going to surprise to see the amount of people was saying that this gonna be grand because so much a thing and that times I see not yet. Of course it's gonna be so because you know why? James Bond, you set yourself out. You set yourself out for such over the weaker ones them. This big government stifle the existence of poor people of all race, especially the black people. Stifle the existence. So we think about you. We think that everybody that plan as we, they're going to chip across and these things nice for no. And then what you think that you know, they come on a pedestal and try to tell you now that look that stifle the whole thing of the whole areas of existence. The lady that talked and said that make the reference and the comparison saying that that if you want that people still young in Africa and that kind of thing. I want to tell the sister that thought so that it wasn't so. That is what the people keep doing. That is what the white people do in Africa. They stifle the existence of the people who can't know. They got to get weak ones inside. And the weak ones now, you understand? We can't take the people start selling out and put it them over to the guns. Some of them even put their own children. So it's not the case that people wake up and decide to sell out for another. Just the same operation with James Bond doing, that is exactly what happened in Africa. And if we come from land where kings and queens, we had been over dynasties, we explored the art for centuries, we are created of so much of things. That is why you see it's sports and every discipline we calculate there. Because we got the swag, we got the swag, we got the rhythm and everything to attract and entertain. You understand? That's like Martin Luther King and all them. That's a job there. And Bob Marley and them for the world to see. And James Bond must stand up and talk about black people. This the man sick me. I show you. The man sick me to the bone. I show you. And there's enough fire upon James Bond and the whole generation. And the same pain we see that we got to feel because of this wicked and stinking and nasty government. We see we facing it. Not go far upon James Bond and you're cheering. I tell you now, not go fall. Because we'll see, if enough we see people hear it. You can hear it because you know, I tell you, we cries step on you, James Bond. We cries step on you. I know you're okay. I know you're okay. You know why? Because you still got weak ones who will go sit over your place and drink. It's still got the weak ones, them. You know who laughing? You know who laughing? Them talking in the I'm not talking about what in I'm talking about in the government. Them dark, the cruel dark when they prepare you and they finally and them is the one people rifle. Them sit back in the paper and they can't tell we get one all of a sudden you is finally friend of God and always reach out to you. There's nothing else but a cross. There's nothing else but James Bond. The amount of power I wish to you.
Carlo, thank you.
I tell you.
Thank you, Carlo. Call you on. If I allow the call, you ain't done for this morning. Call her on.
Good morning, Mr. Ducky. Good morning to your viewers. Now, I want people to realize that these guys, James Bond, that is no good for things. You know, these guys are just two drinkers, and these guys call you no life and things, and them is the only life, you know. Come on, because now you could go on high show for talk something like that. You know what James Bond doing right now, and people should understand. James Bond trying to side with the PPP now, go with them so that all his criminal charges, all the land that he was scandling, the corruption and all that in the previous government, that is what he wanted to the PPP thinking that they're going to dismiss all his charges. People should bet me and understand that, right? James Bond is nobody. This guy never went no case to nobody. I never tell a lie again. So people should realize him. See these guys to just who they is. You know, these guys are just two drinkers and they just hang their hands. So just a hand out of what the case may be. And say, he just like the critic. Ask him how he gets his club in Melanie. This guy Muhammad put him on his feet. If he could go against Muhammad, who else he can't go against? These guys should come out and get it real. You know? These guys are so nasty. I don't know what to say with these guys. You know, so people shouldn't really bother with what he really joined the PPP for. And people should see it. He wanted his charges because you know the people have him before the court and you know he's going to be traumatized. So what you do, you make it easier. He just want to jump over there so that, oh, they can dismiss I'm a child. But he lied. They would never do that. You know, these guys something else. If he could criticize Muhammad, look the critic. The critic, so he's the same thing, criticizing Muhammad, but Muhammad's still doing good. When you're serving Allah, Allah is blessing open your ways. But it's nothing that the church should do. The man still opening his ways, and Allah blessing the man. And that's what Muslims are supposed to do. Charity giving, you're supposed to give freely. Your heart's supposed to be clean. Not someone running, there's Muslims running around like shortcut, and they're doing one for the people. And we go, we're giving this, we're giving that, we're doing this, we're doing that. Now we're here, they're calling them up people. Now you don't victimize them, you do nothing. I think now you say you're open hands to them. These people are so wicked and vindictive and evil. You know, and people should realize and open eyes and see what's going on, because if they don't open eyes, it might be too late. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Kadaki, and the listening public.
Hello, the line.
Sometimes when I listen to your show, I just get angry. And sometimes you also want to play me voice note to believe you, Kadaki, because it's not that what you're saying and making any sense, you know. It's that how I say it, you don't like how I say it. Right? And so I'm showing me 2 cents this morning if you want to play the voice note still. James Bond gotta do what you gotta do. You're right for the way you gotta do. You're right for going stuck up and they're under the bosom of his slave master them. Because James Bond got it, at least that's how he see it. Right? I don't agree with it, but that's how he see it, and he gotta do what he gotta do. Black people is fight black people, them own self. Look what's going on in the opposition. The combined opposition, look what's going on. Now, listen to press conference from time to time with David Hines and listen to Politics 101. I personally believe Dr. David Hines is bargaining for too much and going into the coalition. I personally believe Nigel is bargaining for too much and going into the coalition. What I personally believe, these men need to stop bargaining for so much, put their difference aside, coalesce, remove the PPP from office. That's supposed to be their agenda, to remove the PPP from office. But no, it's a big pull and tug and push and fight for power, for presidential power. You know why? In my little estimate, in my little believing, because more powerful you are, more closer you got to the poorest. And all them only going in there for their own agenda. That's how I see it. Because if them are going for their own agenda, they're going to put the people first and put the difference aside and coalesce. Get into power, run the country for 5 years, coalesce again, get into power. When I get into power for the next 5 years, there's 10 years. In the meantime, WPA is touching base with the people. AFC is touching base with the people. PNC is touching base with the people. And then after 10 years, you bring your difference to the table and start bargaining based on your support base. Right now, you can't be the lesser man and want the bigger cut. It don't happen like that, brother. I can vote for WPA. But at the same time, I get time with WPA, I get time with PNC, I get time with AFC. Because whatever I own in life, none of them help me forget there. So until black people put the difference together and get it right, then it's when your brothers and sisters going to stop pulling to the slave master side. Y'all first gotta show the example. Y'all first gotta stop the fighting. That's just my take and my comments. I see Flash Garden for the past 4 years making comment on this program. First class education. All the comments he make, all the ideas he got, I ain't seen none coming to effect today. Kofi is so brilliant, all the comments and the ideas they have, none coming to effect today. How about if these men use the education, the first class education, like I call them first class, coming in one class, and you already talk about a election fund community group, whereby you can organize a group for go around and reason with black people and show them, right? And they even donate fund to the group. It's not how much you donate. Little or nothing is better than nothing. And for the amount of time, for 4 years, the money could have built up today. And the opposition leaders could have used the same money for enter the election because election is attack, election is a first class education, election is a coming for social media and blah blah about. Election is people. You got paper for run the race. And if you get the paper, there's what people PTV because they're using the country money, allegedly country money, to do what they gotta do. So we gotta put the difference aside and humble ourselves first. Then we're gonna get there, and then I believe our people will stay with us. Peace out.
Carry on.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam, and good morning, everyone in the Guyanese diaspora. I noticed the brother is attracted to my name and the things that I do for the cause. I asked the brother to join us, and see how we could build and move forward. That's how I really try to encourage that brother there. I don't agree with some of the things the brother said, because for the most part, he's finding ways to conflate the opposition rather than build us up. I respect constructive criticism, but I wonder why you're so fixated on coffee and Flash Gordon. It says something. Maybe there is some bias there, and brother needs to really evaluate his biases. I support the PNC, and I support Dr. Hines and the coalition, the WPA. And I support what Dr. Hines said. I want to ask, before I move forward very quickly, the PPP, what they recently said about the Mucker case, the Mucker Arcadia case. That case needs to be properly investigated, and let us see exactly what Roxanne George is saying in that case. So we need to investigate that case much more. I wanted to investigate cultural adjectives about our Guyanese history. Cultural adjectives. Because what I've been hearing is people are fighting based upon our cultural, colloquial, colonial culture and adjectives, which we have always been living with. All right? Like PPP lowlights and sellouts and jagabats and jaganites and Nima Karams. And then we've got the Black Mansalda and the Black Maribunta. Then we've got the Kuli Water Rice, the pork and spice. You can finish the rest. We also have Bear Nancy, Master Willie, Percy the Chick. Them used to call black man Bush Dai and black alligator. Now they're spitting on black women and categorizing them as lowlifes with the executive branch of the government using its power for institutionalized discrimination. What do we call that? Marginalization, institutionalized discrimination, disparities that are having desperate impact upon the social class of Guyanese citizens. We have the waste man adjectives in Guyana. We have the black man and the black junkie and the coolie jankala. Then we have the East Indian woman from the quarantine with 1,000-year-old lice in her head. And
I hope this is the point you're making, because your time will be up shortly.
And cutty. These are all adjectives. These are all colloquial and cultural adjectives that Guyanese use in Guyana. The PPP use them. Jack Dill use them. Members of Parliament also use these colloquial adjectives to describe a situation. Then we have our bottom feeders. Our bottom feeders, our political crab dogs and political grasshoppers. And I'll finish with that. But I also like to ask the question, is it okay to say and use the adjective Likbati? I agree with all of those who said that James Bond is a lick batty. And Chase Green is also a lick batty. Once again, I support Dr. Hines 1000%. Thank you for accepting my call.
Thank you for your call.
Karaki, excuse me. Blessings and good morning to you, my brother. Karaki, you doing such a great job, that you and all don't believe or know what it is you and Dr. Hines doing. Karaki, I can't find words. But anyhow, let me get at the point. Last night I watched Dr. Hines' show with this African guy. His name is James Bond. And that is a superstar name. But he is not as a superstar. Karaki, did this man make an utterance stating that from Chedi come right down to Ifan? Ifan is the only man who does go out in community and meet people and they hitting him on the chest. And so what wrong with that? What wrong with that? That say anything? But Forbes used to go in festival city on horse, moving around and giving people seedling to plant. He don't know about that, but somebody who know about these things should edify him. These people in Mocha, whose house was advantage, break down the houses and the asset and the life crops and all kind of thing. Them people wasn't working hard. Them people wasn't depending on the state. They wasn't depending on the government. And what the government do? Karaki, this guy who was on Dr. Hines' show last night, he's a disgrace. It had a newspaper print a cartoon African with a gun in his hand. You ain't hear them guys who condemning what is happening now. But you ain't hearing nobody speaking about the ills. But Dr. Hines called them lick bottom African, and that become an issue. Boy, watchmen are right. God working in the politics that going on in the Guyana right now. And God, it never work fast and it never work late. The timing is just right. Well, you watch good and see how this thing will play out. God do like wrong things, you know. Kadaki, I'm out, my brother.
You're showing signs of weakness and you're afraid to be fair. And we see the same thing happening year after year.
Morning, Kodaki and viewers. I am a little bit disappointed in James Bond because he always say that he's a leader. I'm seeing James Bond as a follower. James Bond, even if he had went out there and formed his own party, I would have said that he's a leader. Look at what Simona Brooms did. I'm sure she could have joined the PPP too, but she chose to form her own party because that's what leader does. The next thing, I'm upset that Dr. Hines did not remind James Bond last night when Barra Jagdeo had said that black men gonna kick down the door of PNC going to power and rape the children. That was inciting violence. Did Barra Jagdeo ever come and apologize to anyone for that? The next thing, James Bond said last night, but we're going to be surprised at the movement and we're going to see how many young people going to come out to vote for PPP because Ali went to them and he came around them and he touched them. James Bond didn't listen to himself, so no policy wasn't made. He didn't promise them, well, hey, after school programs. He didn't promise them nursing school in the area or another national service so they wouldn't have to be lying on the street if they do. That is how you vote for people. So because he come and he touched them, they have to roll over. What nonsense is that? And this just show that some of our community really needs strong leaders, because a man like James Bond can't tell me that Ali would never went to school before. He probably more educated than Ali. Don't come and touch the young men in your community without making no policies, without giving them something properly. What is their chicken? Guyana has more to offer. James Bond didn't even tell us about any policies that Ali promised them. We want to see human development. We want after-school programs in every city in Guyana where it's accessible for children to go. We want a national service where people can go and do things with their hands who don't want to go back to school and stuff like that. You come telling us about Ali touch? We don't want Ali to touch us. We want policies. We want to hear something better than a touch. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Kadaki. Good morning to your viewers. People gotta realize it's black people you're dealing with. And black people is soup drinkers. You understand? They will fall for anything. They will sell out their board right and all. And people shouldn't never bother with James Bond is a low life. He just like critics. Both of them is low life. Both of them looking for hands out. You understand? And what James Bond trying to do right now, right? He was so corrupt in the previous government, the APU, AFC, you know, he didn't get a position. So he criticized the government. He tried to bring down the government and all matter thing. He ended up selling much lands. He ended up covering too much land. And the days we afraid of, that's why he joined the PPP. People must understand this thing, right? James Bond really want to go with the PPP because of thing. He want to go with them because, well, oh, he feel, well, he can be there. So they're going to dismiss all his case we got or what the case may be. These guys no liar, this thing. These guys just bluff their way. He ever win anybody case in a court or anything. Come on, these people gotta get real, you know. These people shouldn't bother with James Bond and them. These guys is soup drinkers, and people should see them for who they are every single day. You know, these guys just two-head snake. They say one thing, they do one time with the APNU, another time they do with the PPP, and instead of that, they're so corrupt they don't even know the head from the toe. But when he could go so far and criticize the guy who put it on his foot, a guy like Mohammed. Same thing with the critics. You see what the critics doing right now? Bambari Mohammed. He's doing the same thing also. Ask see how we get the clubs we have in our Melanie. You know, it's Mohammed put him on this foot. And then these guys have the audacity for come and talk and set a crap on social media. And these guys should shame, they should bag the face. You know, come on. These guys should get real. I feel a lot of people stop go to his club for them same nonsense because he is a two-head snakehead. You know? Mohammed put him on his feet. Now he criticizes Mohammed is worst body, but you see, this guy don't sleep. And Allah bless him, Mohammed, so much because he's doing way good. And a good man you could never bring down. You can't bring a good man down because the man heart clean and he's serving, he living God. And God continue to bless the man, and the man could do his work. Do its charity work. That's what Muslim must do, giving and sharing. And the heart must be clean and always willing to give. You know, willing to give and always willing to freely open to every single body. What your man is help all races. The man have time with Indian, Black, Portuguese, all races could see the man helping. You know? Come on, these guys need to get real. So people shouldn't bother with James Bond and critics and them. These guys is low life. And then they try to tell you don't rebel in low life. Check their background. Them just looking for a handout from the PPP and, you know, get a contract and they get $1 million or $2 million. They feel, oh, they get the world. It's total nonsense. You know, these people listening to these guys just like them. Because at the end of the day, just like how they talk with them and smile with them, just so they can go behind the back and think because these guys so snitches and things. So people shouldn't bother with James Bond because that's what he's trying to do right now. be with the PPP side so that they could dismiss all the charges he have in thing. He's one who will bring down the government, the previous government. So you should shame to talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your voice note. Let me remind you that the views expressed on these programs, these calls and voice notes are those of the callers and voice noters and not mine. Okay? A lot of things that have been said might be allegations. I don't know that they've been proven. Good. So be reminded when you say certain things, it is alleged, just for our sake.
Good morning, kids, listeners.
Oh, and by the way, let me tell you, it's 5 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. Please do not send me any more voice notes. I am not playing any other voice note that comes after now. I got work. I got work. I got to go and get, I got to earn too.
Jordan mentioned the takeaway for the video with Norway. But the only part she mentioned when they didn't let one man overlook all the country's resources. But there's one thing you got to remember: the people move early to prevent. Yes, if any man, any government in the winner take all scenario. Because in Guyana, winner takes all, when it comes to voting, only one seat is make the difference. And I swear that a lot of these parliamentarians, especially the government side, they just read with the vote points in the papers next day. Because enough for them is stress people on the phone or sleeping when people talk, unless it comes a day for phone. When it's time to do it, they just say aye, and some of them don't even know something with the voting point. So there's one thing that the Norwegians did, because it means that even if they pass a law and the government change, the government choose, especially in the case of Guyana, to one-seat majority, to change the laws, especially see the Natural Resource Fund Committee and them things. So one thing they must have majority of parliament to change any laws. That means that it's not only the government got to vote on any change, it got to be some of the opposition. But that's the other take that I get from the Norwegian team.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Gaddafi. Good morning to the Guyanese public at large. Like I keep telling you, these people who condemning other people, they need to stop that. It's influencing program the wrong way. What they need to do is bring up good issues and forget who do this or who do that. If they want to do that, let them make a platform or go on top of Facebook or TikTok and bruise out whoever they want to bruise out, because it's only making your program feel some bias and also interfering with you and putting you in problems at some times. What is supposed about issues like this? What happened to the APNU with Granger still being our opposition leader and RB Norton sitting down in parliament and can't change parliamentarian? Those are issues that gotta be raised, and that is where the division is falling from, right in that same PNC party up. No, how could a man sit down and don't even be in parliament and so much wrongdoing is doing, and he's not relinquishing his power to the person who's supposed to be the opposition leader? Those are the issues people are supposed to be raising, and stop fighting other people. Whoever do what they want to do, this is their problem. They're not in the parliamentarians or so. Let us criticize our parliamentarians and those who are in office that are paid to look after the opposition people. Thank you. This is my little input.
Thank you for your voice note.
Good morning, Kodakian listeners. You gotta be careful with the guy. He preaching one thing, but then he preaching something else. It might be a troll, a scientific troll. He preaching division, portraying division. You gotta be careful with it. Right now we need division. We need everybody on board. We need to get rid of the PPP, and that's the main thing.
Good morning, Kadaki, and good morning to Guyana. Happy Valentine's Day. This is for James Bond. Kadaki, if James Bond was a good lawyer, he wouldn't be fetching umbrella all in for Mohammed was walking. He would be there and he would be a successful lawyer. That for sure that he wasn't working hard for his profession. He said he wanted to aim for the top and leave a party and go to the PPP. he cannot make a presidential candidate at the PPP, and that is his word. His father tell him, anything you're looking for, aim for the top, right? If he want aim for the top, he would go and open his own party if he want see that he can make it with the PNC, right? But James Bond just go there. You see money squandering in the PPP, so he wanted some. That's what he was doing with Mohammed, looking for get money from Mohammed, and you see he ain't getting enough, so he want to go to the PPP for get some, and that is what he's doing. So he's looking for himself. You got to watch at Darren Wait. Then that's lawyer Todd. The fellows them go study and be successful. People look hiring them, who hiring James Bond for defend them. Thank you have to say.
James Bond know about everything last night when Dr. Hines questioning everything he know except when Dr. Hines asked he about the biometrics. He know nothing but the man with in politics long. He know nothing but the because he can't say that biometrics should be there because he had a crossover. He had a crossover, so he can't, but he know every other thing. You know all about black people and the faults and this and that. But he know when he asks if we feel that we should get biometrics, he know the one. Sick and nasty.
Kanaki. James Bond is the one who never like to work hard. Can't you see he's the one who's telling you he don't like to work hard? You gotta look what he does. The man was a lawyer. Went to school to become a lawyer. And I don't know if he ever been successful at that. I guess he gave it up for what? He opened a club. And after opening the club, what? What after? He's the one who like to work hard. Now he with the PPP. If I remember, if my memory served me well, I remember James Bond saying he would never join the PPP. Die hard. He don't want to stay and fight for nothing. He don't want to fight for anything. James Bond is a disappointment. You know what I mean? James Bond is a disappointment to himself and to the youth of this country.
Okay.
And the day will come when all this nonsense will stop. That will be the day when black people decide to wake up. Not so long ago, something terrible happened. This young Indian man want to kill out all black people by poison. But if his shoes was on the other foot, would have been a big threat. But up to this day, this TRC can't do nothing as yet. How come it's only black people committing cybercrime? When pretty on social media, fussing people all the time. I still say,
that's my happy face. That's my face when I don't lose any sleep. See y'all tomorrow. No. See y'all next week, Monday. Peace out. Y'all try there. All lazy black people best don't walk. Well, I don't, you know, there's so many things I can say in closing, but listen, I got things to do, man. I gotta go and do other stuff. Listen to me. I saw a news coming out of the US where an Indian family out of Trinidad, they were working hard, you know. Working hard. They got 480 years, I think, in prison all told. We're gonna talk about this some other time. I guess that might be related to the Ahmads and Baldios and so on and so forth. Greeds and so on and so forth. I don't know. Y'all could do the research. Find out who those people were related to and how hard they were working. Because according to here, is some scam got them the big number of years. Anyhow, I love y'all. Some people like it easy. Some people work to make it easy. I work to make it easy. Love you. Goodbye.